What drew you and Matt to Phoenix? What was it?
Sure.
What was the attraction?
Yeah, we really start with this macro tracker that aggregates a whole bunch of data. So in looking at Phoenix, it was a tremendously diverse economy, more so than I ever really imagined. Available land, tremendous political environment, which I think is one of the best things going for Phoenix personally.
A lot of folks from California think about Surprise as a destination landing spot. So you're saying, okay, does that market traditionally ramp up heavily with single-family permits during certain market conditions? So am I going to be able to get the rent levels that make sense or to justify my yield on cost, my returns?
Where do you see the largest opportunities when you have a little bit of headwinds coming your way?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we decided to go on the road today. We're out in lovely and beautiful Surprise, Arizona. And what better place to be at than the Statler? And we have co-founder and managing partner of Ridgehouse Companies, Michael Sansone. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Adam, thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
I know we mentioned this off camera, but I'm going to bring it up, right? Fellow Italian.
I was hoping you'd bring that up.
We're sandwiching
Yes.
Mr. Minnesota.
The white kid from Minnesota?
The white kid from Minnesota.
More
You can throw that
fellow
out.
Sicilians.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better. So when I saw your last name, right, and this is it's first time meeting you, and I love it. Thank you again for making the trip out.
Of course. Yeah. Happy to.
My first, to say your last name, to pronounce it correctly, was Sansone.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And of course, it's the coming to America,
Yep.
everything changes, last name changes, pronunciation,
Yep.
etc.
American adoption was Sansone.
I love it.
But it was Sansone. Yeah.
Well, welcome again to the
right,
podcast,
thank you.
and thanks for
Appreciate it.
opening up your beautiful development here, because this is just absolutely best in class out here in Surprise. I have no hesitation in saying that either. We love it.
Yeah, I appreciate that very
So
much.
you flew in from St. Louis.
I did, yes.
Give us a little history. Well, how did Ridgehouse Companies, family, everything?
Sure, yeah. So born and raised in St. Louis. Haven't lived there all my life. I spent a little bit of time outside of it after college. But deeply rooted, large Italian Catholic family in St. Louis. So a lot of cousins, a lot of siblings.
Everybody's in your business.
Everybody's in our business. Everybody knows everything. There's very frequent communication. But ultimately, many more pros than cons with all
Wouldn't
that.
have it any other way.
My grandfather was a developer. My father was a developer. So just kind of, I just naturally followed that path. I'm part of a family with a lot of different entrepreneurs. So ultimately owning my own business was something that I aspired to do. I didn't know, when it was going to be. And in 2018, I was at a point personally. Matt and I, who
Matt Walla.
Matt, my partner.
Yes.
He was working with me, and we decided to start this firm, Ridgehouse Companies. So that was in 2018. And really those first few years, it was just grinding, just trying to figure out kind of who we were going to be, what we were going to do. We kind of launched, and then we were going to say, we're going to figure this out as we go and decide later. And we did. And so by 2021, we had established ourselves, and, since really 2021 to where we sit here today, we've developed, close to 2,500 units, across many different markets across the U.S. And so it's been a great run, and it's been a ton of fun building a business, growing a business, experiencing growth, disproving some people that thought it wouldn't be possible.
Oh,
so
that's the best.
Yeah, so it's been I wouldn't change anything about it. It's been great.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Well, we have the privilege of not only managing the Statler for you, but also Somerset and the Avery. You continue to have other developments throughout the country, right?
Yeah,
Nashville, Charlotte.
Yeah, Nashville, Charlotte, Knoxville, St. Louis, Phoenix, Huntsville, Alabama, and constantly assessing new markets to expand into.
Good.
That's a big part of our day.
Good. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit alongside with John here.
Yeah.
Close to 70,000 units delivered to the market since 2021 in Phoenix, the Valley itself. What drew you and Matt to Phoenix? What was it? What was the attraction?
Yeah. So there's a long answer there. So we have we kind of start from the top down and filter our way into where do we want to allocate our time, where do we want to put our team's time, and where is there opportunity for us. So we really start with this macro tracker that aggregates a whole bunch of data. Okay, and that's really kind of the science part of our business. And we're looking at a ton of different variables, and we'll give different markets and give those variables different rankings that will ultimately kind of tell us where do we want to redirect our efforts. And those things are anywhere from, existing supply, existing rental rates, supply under construction, absorption levels, job growth, in migration, level of university retention. So those graduating from local university systems, is this community retaining those so they can feed feed job growth and continue to have a thriving economy. And then diversity of industry, which for me in 2008 through say 2011, Phoenix was, from my vantage point living in the Midwest, was kind of ground zero of the negatives of the GFC.
Sure.
So it at that point in my life, I had a lot of pause around Phoenix. But then as we started to kind of a decade or two later, started to objectively look at this information, Phoenix screened really well. Okay. And so that's kind of the science and data part of it. Then you get into the art of it, and it's, is there even really available land to develop, right? Are we going to go and go do one deal, a 3.5-hour plane ride away from our home and then never go back? That's not a great use of time either. So in looking at Phoenix, it was a tremendously diverse economy, more so than I ever really imagined. Available land, tremendous political environment, which I think is one of the best things going for Phoenix personally. And we all have, every community has their own idiosyncrasies and issues, but
We're business friendly.
Phoenix is very business friendly.
Yeah.
And very pro growth. And and then furthermore, we also have a third party construction company that we own. Okay. And so that construction company builds all of our developments. So then you have to start looking at available labor force. Can it, how does that work? And you start to tie all these things together, and Phoenix just screened very well. And it was a place where we can go do a lot of business there for a really long period of time.
Right.
And that's ultimately how we landed here. And it took a couple years to eventually find something. And fortunately you do one deal, and we were able to leverage that into a couple more. And, right now is not the best time to be developing, but our intention is to remain in this market and continue to be active. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
JC, we're developers ourselves historically, right? If you're listening to everything that Mike's sharing with you, give us something. What are some of the parameters that say, yes, this location, this type of product, this is going to be a successful site to build on?
Well, excuse me, I think Michael touched on many of the data points, so I won't rehash those. I think when you're looking for a specific location, that can be macro, meaning state, down to city, down to submarket, specific site level. I think it's really important that you understand the historical perspective of that submarket. Again, I'll back up: city, municipality, county, state. What's the environment? What's the demand metrics that you're tracking? Michael mentioned he has several that he overlays like we do. I'm sure there's lots of similarities. What's the population growth? Why would someone live in that state, in that location?
Right.
What's the actual demographics of that type of person, which is a big thing that we focus on. What's the demographic for that specific area? Who can afford to live there? What are the drivers for living there? Lifestyle, job growth, all of those things. So what's that trend? What supply has happened previously? What supply is ahead of you? How does that fit within the construct of the single family for sale product?
Yeah.
So, Surprise, a lot of folks from California think about Surprise as a destination landing spot. That's great. Glad you're here for that reason. But there's also a lot of single family for sale, or there was in the past at least. So you're saying, okay, does that market traditionally ramp up heavily with single family permits during certain market conditions? So am I going to be able to get the rent levels that make sense or to justify my yield on cost, my returns, all those thresholds? And then you factor in, go beyond that. What are the municipalities like? Is it a pro-growth situation? Certainly it is here. Yes, there's restrictions. I think we can all speak to regulations across the country. They've advanced significantly since the 70s. So yes, we're still pro-growth, but it's not like before. So a lot of this is us hindering ourselves in terms of development. So those are all factors. And then if you get right down to the site, is the site a site that we can develop a product, amenity space, all of those things, and it makes sense? Do I have great ingress, egress? Am I close to a freeway? Am I close to a job center? Those are two things that are really key for us. Are you close to a freeway? And are you close to job centers? Those things matter to us.
I love that you brought up the amenity space, because going back to when you first started going vertical is when I had the privilege of meeting Julie Garcia.
Yeah.
Which, just an expert. She's
tremendous.
just I love her. She's fantastic.
Huge asset to our team.
So all of those factors that come into just thinking about just beginning to start a development.
Sure.
How do you choose the amenity space? Because this community is something special.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The golf simulator, which is enormous, the pool area, right, we're overlooking it right now. Podcast room, enormous just community space for all of the residents that live here. How do you determine those factors?
Yeah. I mean, there's a process, and it seems like, each year goes by, that process gets refined. Those expectations change. Expectations of not just us as a company and as a developer, but expectations of the renter. But it really starts with, you kind of have to look at it from like, where are we first? Okay. So, we've got, like we mentioned this earlier, but we have developments in Nashville and Charlotte, which are very, very different.
Different markets.
Very different markets.
Yeah.
And then there's one of the sub-market that we're in, for example, in Nashville, for the project that comes to mind, there's really not even a sub-market in Phoenix that you could even draw a comparison to. So you've got to really understand kind of locally, what drives that community. So out here, it may be, outdoor space is a lot more important here than it would be in Nashville. Not to say that it's not important, but we may need to spend more time here, okay? Or add more outdoor space here and be more thoughtful about that. Obviously, you look at comparable properties, what has worked, what hasn't. We learn from some of our own mistakes, some of our done wells and some of our mistakes, throughout other developments. The other thing that I really like to do, and we kind of talked about this, is I like to go to, when going to a new market, because it takes years. Like, I'm going to markets.
Such a long process.
I'm going to markets now that we have no presence in, that I've been spending a lot of time in, getting to know that and getting to understand it. Because the last thing I want to do is end up being on the wrong side of the tracks and not even knowing it, right, as an out-of-towner. Is I love to stay at like local boutique, kind of swanky hotels, like where you really start to get the vibe of the area. And then from there, I feel like that's like ground zero on where I personally, this is on the more of a personal level, not everybody at our company does this, but this is really where I start that vetting process. I start to just kind of understand like design, style, what are the people like, are they nice, are they friendly, do they like talking to you at the bar, do they not like talking to you at the bar, are they standoffish, whatever it is. And it's, and it's just, I kind of start there, and that's how I just immerse myself in the local area. Yeah. So I love doing that. Like, I'm not a chain hotel guy when I'm going to these markets, just because it's like, I just can't learn anything. I can't learn anything there. And then it goes down to, our big thing is talk to everyone everywhere. I mean, no matter where you are, if you're touring a comp and there's somebody in the dog park with their dog, talk to that person. What do you like? What do you don't like? Where'd you live?
Pulse.
Where are you, where are you from?
As you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the obvious people, engaging with city officials, engaging with land use attorneys, civil engineers, architects, all those things. But it's just a grassroots effort to really just get your arms wrapped around kind of the fabric and the pulse of the market. And then from there, you can start kind of delineating, all right, this space, we can afford to do this, or maybe we can't do this, or we should do this. Then that's where you start really making those decisions. And we're engaged with, interior design professionals that we want to make sure understand the area. Like, we mandate, we don't always work with an interior designer that's in the location of that we're building in.
Okay.
But we mandate quarterly travel. So and we pay for it. So like it's before the project starts.
Get a feel for the
So like as we're going through, it's like, no, you need to tour every camp. Don't just you may have developed this beautiful high rise in Atlanta and it's gorgeous, but like that doesn't mean anything to Glendale, Arizona.
Right.
Okay. So there's just there's really no detail too small.
Well,
please.
I mean, I love what you said, because we can go through pages and gigabytes of data, right? Population growth, all those things, but the anecdotal component of what you just mentioned, like you're tying into the actual fabric, the pulse of the community, and getting a vibe, like a feeling, and that matters a lot.
And
like, don't live north of XYZ road.
Correct.
You don't want to be there.
Yeah.
No one lives up there.
Yeah.
Right? Those basic things that you get in those moments, you're not going to get from ChatGPT or
or
you already
CoStar or
Matrix.
wherever else. Yeah. No, couldn't agree. But that data serves its purpose. It's the first step to say, hey, let's start evaluating this. And there's many places that we've gone where the data suggests we should go, and we've evaluated. It just wasn't the right market for us at the right time.
Yeah.
I want to give you kudos or just praise because Julie's the one that.
Me or
that
what? Oh,
well, I give you praise all the time. I don't think you need any more from me.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Mike's getting it now.
Yeah.
Yes. Julie's the one that educated me on this, and I'm ashamed that I didn't know this. You talked about being part of the community, doing research. You named the property after the family who was originally here, the Statlers.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, typically all of our names, we don't have an individual brand for our developments. I mean, we name them based upon the location that they're in. It can be things even like, the landscaping comes from a local nursery. So any landscape install that we do comes from a local nursery. Okay?
What a way to adopt.
Yeah. So there's just little touches like that we try.
And I'm sure most don't how important that is and what that means to the people that originally have been here since the beginning, right?
Yeah.
You got Statler Boulevard just down the road, right? And it's the Statler family that was here. I just that speaks volumes.
Thank you. Another thing that kind of comes to mind is, at times, as developers, it's, we grow accustomed to being frustrated with the entitlement process. And yeah, I mean, listen, that's
Fairly so.
That's a whole other discussion that we can get into. But there are times where that's very useful.
Yeah.
And, even with the research that we've done and the discovery that we've done, if we're in front of an architectural review board and they make some suggestions based on other things that they've seen in the community, because typically those people are volunteer and they care deeply and they're there for that reason, that stuff is heard and adopted and oftentimes very helpful. So that's another thing.
Let's talk broader market. All right. Of course, mentioning all the different markets that you're in across the country, right? Interest rates.
Yeah.
Hard and soft costs, buyer psychology, buyer demand. Where do you see the largest opportunities when you have a little bit of headwinds coming your way?
Yeah. A lot of headwinds.
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah. I remember when we were going through, we were going through the pandemic and, you kind of didn't know which way was up, but it was like, it was like, but God, we've got really strong rent growth right now, and that really, really helped. Now you've got and low interest rates,
Yeah.
Now you've got,
how quickly that changed, huh?
And now you kind of have everything's kind of stacked against us at this point. I mean, ultimately, where this goes is, as a developer, as I sit here today, I don't see, tremendous opportunity to develop at scale in this environment. It's just very, very challenging.
Yeah.
But I do see really, across the board, with exceptions, of course, housing. I mean, there is still a demand for housing. So while we've seen, specifically here, while in Phoenix, we've seen, tremendous supply and supply's outpaced demand, we have seen incredible demand. Mm-hmm. And so that gives comfort to, at some point, the market's rarely ever in perfect equilibrium. And if you get into the development business or the real estate business and you don't think that there's going to be a cyclical nature associated with that, that it's just not the business for you. So we've really managed our company and prepped our company to be able to stay the course. Yeah. And that's ultimately, how we're looking at it. So that doesn't mean, just because I say I don't think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity in today's environment, that doesn't mean that we're pencils down.
Of course.
I mean, we're extremely active underwriting deals. We're keeping the act sharp, for when there is a return. But there are factors outside of our control that need to change to provide some relief to ultimately allow us to develop at the scale again.
I would describe your group, like other smart developers, as opportunistic versus required.
Yeah.
We have a fund. We have to go.
No,
right? We got to burn the cash.
Yeah.
It's just a different mindset.
It really is. It really is. And like it's such a unique business in that sense. I think there's tremendous good fortune for me that I grew up in it, and so
helps.
It really does feel like this. I don't losing sleep at night. And believe me, we have our challenges with the existing portfolio. We have our challenges with new opportunities in the pipeline. But fortunately, I think if you look at the data across the board, I think there's going to be a return. We don't know when. But
I like that.
There's going to be a
good.
return. Yeah.
JC, from a management consulting lens view, is there a blind spot that you see with other developers? We're talking with Mike. Mike, he gets it, right? Understands it. Ridgehouse. Do you see a blind spot that some don't?
Yeah, I'd say if I look back historically, this was more in the past. So I'll go back pre-GFC because I'm older. And if you think
Not
about
as old as me.
that time frame, there was a lot of ownership groups that would choose to, and it still happens today.
Yeah.
I called it ownership pride at the time. I mean, look at this place; it's gorgeous, but it doesn't mean that you're going to command a market environment where you're going to get $300 above the market rents of that specific submarket overall. And I think that there's a disconnect often with that. No, look at the product; we have bigger units, or look at the pool. Look at the market is the market. You're never bigger than the market. I can't beat the drum hard enough on that. Fast forward to just say post-pandemic, I think there was a rush from a BTR perspective. BTR really created a firestorm of capital infusion into multifamily, which changed the game. I mean, Phoenix was part of that, obviously parts of Texas as well, but it shifted gears. And then I think when that happens, it attracts, there's levels of developers, right? Sophisticated to, we just need to do it. Maybe they're underwhelming, but they look at things that aren't necessarily things that matter for success long-term as developers. And then you start to try to find ways to kind of value engineer your product. You start to take shortcuts. And I see this too often where you do all of the things wrong before you even open a door. And now you're saying to a management organization, hey, we know that we were delayed in construction. We're 12 months behind, and I know your underwriting's from 3 years ago, but we still need to hit these rents. That market no longer exists. I mean, we've had this happen. And now you're saying, well, management company, you have to go figure it out.
So many of those conversations.
We can't manage out of a bad deal. I mean, no matter what we do, we don't have that much power.
Sure, of course.
Right?
So at the end of the day, you said the market's the market.
Right. We can maximize the financial potential of that asset. That's what we can do. And the market conditions matter in that equation. So I would just say there has to be, and I've seen this so many times, when you see all of these missteps along the way, I'm like, oh man, here we go. This is going to be, and you can't back out. Like, we're committed. So I'm not going to let that person down, but you have to have ultra transparent and honest conversations. I know certain managers won't, like, no, yes, Michael, yes, we can do that.
Yeah.
No, this isn't going to work. We'll work with you as your partner, but we have to consider the challenges of today.
Absolutely.
In those conversations.
Perfect. As you continue, you mentioned this already. You tend not to lose sleep. There's stress involved, of course.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
You know, at some point there is going to be a return. As you continue to scale, have you ever had a challenge in any one of your developments sticking to the Ridgehouse brand?
Not at this point.
That's great.
We wouldn't do the.
You just wouldn't
we
do it
wouldn't
from
do
the beginning.
Deal. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Because I mean, and I think part of that is not just kind of the development company, but the construction company too. That's run by. We all sit in the same environment. That's under the Ridgehouse Companies umbrella, but that's run by a gentleman named Walter Oshesky, who's been just an incredible leader of that division.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have the development company in sync with the construction company.
Yeah.
And the construction company gets what we as the developer are going to require. Okay. And they're not trying to cut corners, to get a deal done.
It's not just a GC contract.
It's not just a
place.
GC contract. So it's nice that I think that we have
It's all under
that,
one umbrella.
Yeah. And that vertical integration, I think, helps that too. And, fortunately, with that too, I mean, we're able to look at a lot of deals, underwrite a lot of deals, and budget down to the penny. And we know, we're not going to all of a sudden take $250,000 out of the clubhouse to make the deal work.
Sure.
Because it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit our brand. We'd rather find another one at a later date.
Mike, I can't say thank you enough for being here with us.
Yeah,
This has been
absolutely.
such a treat for us to be on the road for the first time, taking multifamily forward out to the Statler.
Yeah, thank you.
Right,
I'm glad
all the
you
way out
guys
to
came.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Thrilled for our partnership.
Same.
It is. I still go back. I mentioned this earlier. The first time that we broke bread with Matt Wally, you, Michael Wilson and I, we barely even talked business. I mean, that's how seamless that relationship was. And
You're
how
in charge of new business. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, nothing. Apparently, we were just eating a lot at that time. But
No, you guys have been a great partner to us.
Well, we're thrilled.
For sure. We don't look at you as a third-party property management. We really look at you as an extension of our team. And there's been a tremendous amount of collaboration from corporate level folks all the way down to site level folks, both on your side and on my side. And it's been seamless, and candidly, it's set a standard for other communities and other regions that we're dealing with other management companies
Thank you.
on. And so it's been tremendously impactful and beneficial and valuable to our business.
Make
So
sure
thank
our
you.
producer highlights that.
Okay.
yes, 100%. And don't forget the Statler, the Avery, and Somerset. Go and tour. Lease an apartment today, please.
Great.
Right?
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Yes,
you.
appreciate it.
We
Thanks a
always
lot.
end with something that we're grateful for.
Okay.
You and I think we could probably go on for days along with John. I know John does this all the time, but would you prefer, is it okay if I ask you and you start it
means.
off? What are you
Yeah.
grateful for today, Mike?
It's hard to pin it down to one thing. I would say we do this. So on Monday mornings, we have our leadership team meeting.
Yes.
And we always say, like, what's the best thing that happened last week, both on a personal and professional
man, I
level.
love this.
So we kind of open up. That's basically our first touch point with each other for the week.
I love this.
So it's hard to choose between one or the other. So I'm going to give you two. Can I give you personal and
Please.
professional?
Please.
So on the personal side, I would say just my family dynamic. I've got a very supportive wife that is very understanding and understands that I have career ambitions that takes me out of the home and on the road quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so that I really appreciate that. And
Sacrifices sometimes.
yeah, absolutely. And then I have 5 healthy kids that are thriving, 11 down to 4, that really don't have any real world issues. They've got little kid issues, and they're having fun, and life's pretty easy and seamless.
The way it should be, right?
Yeah. So very grateful for that. And then on the professional side, I would say probably the decision to expand into Phoenix, get to know guys like you, and every time I leave here and fly back home, I feel so invigorated. It feels so active. I'm so stimulated, and I'm excited for what the future can bring for us in the Valley, which I think would be a fitting thing to be grateful for today.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
of
for
course.
that. JC.
I'm going to adopt Mike's two-sided grateful
great.
monster, which I
Yeah.
love. So I will start with the personal side. And I think when I look back last week, it was probably, I spent a lot of time with my wife last week. So
Yeah.
that was amazing. Had a great birthday dinner with you on Saturday.
Thank you,
so
sir.
I just
Thank
think
you very much.
lots of friends around all weekend, just all of the people that I've tried to align myself with over the years matters to me. Like, who do I want to hang out with?
Yeah,
right?
life's short, man.
Life's short.
Yeah.
So do I want people that don't want to lift me up? No. I want
Yeah.
people that want to support me. I want to support them. So just a great group. And when you get that energy collectively, it's amazing.
Yep.
Work-wise, I know I mentioned some of the negative side of the development game, but I think in my position, I'm so grateful that over the years I've had the opportunities to meet guys like yourself and Matt and teams, great development partners, guys that get it, and I get to learn from you. And I just think in my space as a third-party manager and owner-operator, to get that type of depth and knowledge, because great developers, construction developers, GCs, they open like, here's what we're doing. This is why we think we'll be successful. And you see the output here. If you just hired, you have a vision for this. And if you don't have that direct dotted line to your construction company, you hire some random GC in a town you don't know that well, are you going to get this type of product? No, you won't. It won't be finished like this. The vision won't be fully there. Now you got to cut corners and change. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the relationship with Ridgehouse.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Greco.
Are you ready for me?
Absolutely.
I got a good one. This doesn't happen very often. In fact, I don't know if it's ever happened.
You're speechless?
No, that's never going to happen. No, I can promise you that one will never happen.
Good point.
Yeah.
My bad.
I was mentioning to Mike earlier before we started, to have a team, because our corporate support team, of course, along with our amazing site teams that are just the backbone of what we do, our continued success, especially with our partnerships, right? But to have a corporate support team One, Sierra Houts. Where are you? I'm looking at this camera right here, Sierra. Sierra Houts Property Supervisor of the Year for the AMA Tribute Awards, along with Jason Richardson on the same corporate support team, Regional Maintenance Supervisor of the Year as well. And then Chris Owen, who is the Maintenance Supervisor here at the Statler, to win Maintenance Supervisor of the Year as well. To have those three individuals. Let's not forget Aura Parker. I love you, Aura. You're fantastic. To have such talented people that I get to work
So glad you
with
said that. Yeah.
alongside each and every day. Man, I learned so much from them. And to have them here on all of your sites.
Well, I thank you for that, because it's shown in the results of this project.
Oh, man. So very grateful that I get to work with so many talented people on a daily basis.
It's awesome.
Thank you for doing
Thank
this
you,
again.
guys. This is great.
It is really a privilege,
It was
man.
good to connect
Thank
with
you
you
very
guys.
much.
Thank you.
And we didn't mention about the F-35s flying because we're minutes away from Luke Air Force Base. We were worried about the sound coming through. We didn't actually get any of that. What happened? Did you clear the airways for us specifically, Brian?
Called in a favor.
We're gonna at
Thanks,
some
Brian.
point we're gonna make sure Brian has to say something during a taping, because he never does. He's so smart. I've tried to trip him several times, just not happening.
No,
Not happening.
He's a
Body
trained
language
professional.
says everything, though.
Well, again, thank you for joining us. Multifamily Forward, presented by Mark Taylor Consulting, on the road in Surprise, Arizona, at the Statler Apartments with Ridgehouse Companies. Thanks for joining us.